Hello and welcome to the beginning of a 4-week shoulder program designed with the baseball or softball player in mind. The goal of this program is to help build a stronger and healthier throwing shoulder. All of these exercises can be performed at home with minimal equipment and space. The exercises should be performed 3 to 4 times a week, and each session should last about 15 to 20 minutes. The program is created with high school or middle school baseball or softball players in mind. However, all of the exercises can be easily modifiable to make it more or less challenging. Please reach out if you have any questions. Enjoy.
This exercise is called a prone tee, and for a setup on this one, you'll need something that you can lie on top of. So right now what we're using is a kind of a big exercise ball. Other things at home that you can use are an ottoman or sometimes a chair, depending on what it looks like. And basically you want to be able to lie on it on your chest or your stomach where you have both arms free. And the starting position for the prone tee is going to be with your arms out to the side like this. You want to think about your elbow is going to be a little bit higher than your shoulder here. You go straight out to the side. And you want to have your thumbs in the same line as your nose. And what Austin's going to be doing in this exercise is he's going to be lifting his arms just a little bit up towards the ceiling and then back down. And he's trying to get his thumb to go straight up towards the ceiling and not have it come kind of down and back as he comes here. Now, this exercise should be for the shoulder blades. You should feel it between your shoulder blades, but he's not trying to pinch his shoulder blades. Those muscles should automatically engage as you're lifting your hands straight up towards the ceiling. And what you'll also notice is that he's going only a few inches down and a few inches up. Sometimes with this exercise, you see people doing these huge motions like this, up and down here. And what that then does is that uses a lot more of the back of your shoulder and your deltoid here. We want to feel this kind of engaged across your shoulder blades primarily. So that's the T version. The Y version, think of the Y in the YMCA, is going to be a little bit more up overhead. So now he's going to be going almost with his arms kind of closer to his ears, but the exact same things apply. He's still going to be trying to lift his thumbs straight up towards the ceiling. You should still feel it kind of across the back of the shoulder blades. You want to be careful that you're not feeling it too high up into your neck, kind of the base of the shoulders, or into your lower back. You want to try and keep your whole spine, including your head. He's doing a really good job of not tilting his head back as he's in this position, but keep that in line, the whole body here as you're going up and down with your hands. Next exercise is going to be a prone external rotation over the ball, or again, you can use an ottoman or chair to rest your chest on. And the starting position here is going to be arms bent at 90 degrees with the hands hanging down towards the floor. What you want to pay attention to is what is the starting position of your elbow. Right now, Austin has his elbow a little bit higher than his shoulder, and you'll notice that's a little bit kind of in front of his chest. It's not too high this way here. If you start here and then you try and rotate your hands up like that, you're going to feel like your shoulder gets all bunched up in the front. So he wants to keep it a little bit in front of his body, kind of in line with his chest. And as he's rotating, so go ahead and rotate your hands up here, you want to try and keep the pointy spot of your elbow as still as possible as you go up and as you go down. And what you should feel is that as you bring your hands up into this position here, is that you should feel something across the upper back into your shoulder blades engaging. You'll certainly feel it behind the shoulder, but I definitely want you to feel it between the shoulder blade a lot too. And if you're not feeling anything between the shoulder blade, in this position here, just at the start, think about trying to engage those same muscles that you were just doing in the T or the Y without trying to pinch your shoulder blades too much together. And I know that sometimes is a hard thing to do, but too much of a pinch can actually restrict your motion and be counterproductive. As you're going up here, so go up again, this is where you should feel it the most. And then also, let me have you turn 90 degrees here so they can see this next part. And you'll see a difference between his right and his left, so that as he comes up here, you'll notice that his right hand is able to go a little bit higher than his left. A couple things to point out with that is that's normal for somebody who's done a lot of throwing in their life. And it's really important that on the throwing side, so in this case, Austin's right side, you really want to make sure you're working through that full range of motion and really trying to control and master these last few degrees is what's important for a throwing shoulder, and what I think oftentimes sets people who are likely to get injured versus people who are less likely to get injured is the control of that range of motion. All right, next exercise is going to be a plank to a downward dog, and that's going to help us accomplish two different goals. One, anytime you're putting weight through your hands, it requires a lot of muscular strength to do that. We're big fans of anything where you're weight bearing through your hands here. And then the other thing that's going to help accomplish is you're going to end up with your hands up overhead. And one of the biggest predictors of injuries in throwers is not being able to fully get your arm up overhead without pain or a pinch or lack of range of motion. So what Austin is going to do here is he's going to start into kind of a push-up plank. He's going to think about trying to bring this up towards the ceiling so that his shoulder blades are not sticking out too much. Shouldn't be sagging downwards. And then what he's going to be doing here is he's going to be pushing through his hands to push himself up into a downward dog. So yep, kind of starting the plank, push up into the downward dog. Now what he wants to do is that as he's going up into the downward dog, he wants to let his shoulder blades kind of come up and around his rib cage. Hold that for a couple seconds, then come back down to the plank. Again, he's still engaged through here, so he's not letting his upper body sag down. You shouldn't be able to see your shoulder blades sticking out as you are in the plank position. You should be getting a hamstring stretch with this as well. Now, if you're to the point where your hamstrings are too tight and you cannot get fully up overhead, you can bend your knees a little bit. So if you bend your knees a little bit and then go up overhead, that should help give you a little bit more motion, a little bit more ability to get into that position. Now, in the downward dog position, you should feel like you are engaging through your arms. You're pushing down through the outside of your palm as you're going up. You should, or you might feel a little bit of a stretch into your lats on the sides as well. And then you'll be feeling your shoulders working as well. Hold in each position for about 3 seconds. Go up and down 10 times, and then 3 sets of those. All right. Next exercise, we're going to do a plank with an alternating shoulder tap. And what that's going to look like is you're going to be in a push-up position again. You want to widen out your feet a little bit here to help give yourself a better base of support. Now, you can try and minimize that base as you get better and as you get stronger, especially through your midsection. So this is a shoulder exercise, but it's also a stomach exercise as well. So what Austin's going to do here is he's going to push himself up into a tall plank here, and he's going to take one hand and he's going to tap it towards his opposite shoulder, and then back down and alternate to the other side. Try and hold it for a few seconds. What your goal here is that as you pick up your hand, your body weight, your trunk, your hips, everything else doesn't shift towards the opposite side. So you can see in the video, he's doing a good job of keeping everything fairly straight in line here. And what that's going to work his shoulders, but also his stomach too. He's trying to keep his hips level here, not letting them tilt side to side as well. And just like with the downward dog, you're trying to keep this pushed up the whole time, right? So don't let yourself sag between your shoulder blades. That doesn't mean pinch your shoulder blades. That means actually kind of push your hands down into the ground to get your body to push up towards the ceiling. Think about doing about 5 times, 5 taps each side for 10 total, and try and do 3 sets there. Next exercise is going to be a belly press for your internal rotators, specifically your subscapularis. This is an important muscle for being able to stabilize your humeral head on the socket as you're throwing. A little bit of an unusual position here. We're going to have a ball or something that's easily compressible sitting on top of your belly button. So at home, your best option might be a pillow or something like a towel that you can push into. Right now what we're using kind of a half inflated softball. So something like a blown up soccer ball, basketball might not work for this because I want it to actually compress a little bit. You're going to put it on top of your belly button here. Your elbow is going to be out to the side. We'll take a picture of that in a second, or we'll have Austin turn it to the side. And what you want is your shoulder not to be rolled forward as you're doing this, but kind of keeping this back here. And all you're going to do is you're going to push your hand down into your stomach. You're going to hold that for 5 seconds or so, and then relax. Now, What you also don't want is that as you're pushing, you don't want to just squeeze by pulling your elbow in. You want to keep the pointy spot of the elbow still as you're pushing into the ball. So good. Also, I'm going to have you turn 90 degrees here so they can see it from the side. So you can see that as he's pushing into the ball, his elbow is staying still. It's not kind of pulling inwards like this as he's doing it. Now, if you're doing this one right, you should feel something on the front side of your chest, in front of your shoulder working to try and apply some pressure into the ball. All right, next exercise is going to be the farmer's carry. Now, this one might be the hardest one to do at home just because you'll have to find something that's heavy enough to carry. In the clinic or in the gym, we'd want you to do this with 2 heavier dumbbells. At home, you might find a backpack that you can put some weights into, a bucket, suitcases, you can put books, bags of water, different things you can find at home. And all you're trying to do is make something heavy that's fairly equal on both sides that you'll be able to walk back and forth with while maintaining a good position. Let's talk briefly about what a good position is. So Austin's basically just going to be standing there with his arms by his side with 2 weights in his hands. He's not going to try and shrug up like this. He's not going to try and stick his chest out. He's basically just going to try and see if he can maintain that position. He wants to think that he's got a string attached to his head and the string is getting pulled up towards the ceiling. So he's trying to stay kind of elongated, but not, arched backwards or forwards, either way with that. Now, when he's actually doing the exercise, he's going to be walking back and forth. So here, Austin had me walk back and forth. And all you're trying to do is maintain that position as you're walking back and forth. Where you should feel this, you're going to feel this kind of into the upper trap here, but you might feel something across your back of your shoulder blades as well. And then definitely your hands and your forearms. That's probably what should give out first. What should happen though is that as the weights get heavier, just be careful that your shoulders aren't sinking downwards here. You're still able to maintain that same position as you continue to move back and forth. So your goal should be to be able to use a weight that's heavy enough to do this for about 30 seconds before you have to put the weight down.